Hello and welcome to this edition of Eurasia Talks. I'm Laura Buckwell. Well, as the world continues to navigate an ever-evolving geopolitical landscape, Turkmenistan is no exception, and its decisions around diplomacy, trade and energy are more critical than ever. So in this edition of Eurasia Talks, I sit down with the national leader of Turkmenistan, His Excellency Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedow. Well, Your Excellency, thank you very much for taking the time out to sit with us for this Euronews exclusive interview with the Western press, I believe. Part of the reason for a bigger push for bigger EU presence in Central Asia is the Ukraine-Russia conflict. And I know that Turkmenistan very much has a neutral stance when it comes to peace and tolerance. So I was wondering whether you could tell us exactly your stance on Russia-Ukraine, and how do you see the recent push for peace that's happening right now?
Neutrality is the basis of our foreign policy. It clearly defines Turkmenistan's relations with the global community, even in challenging situations. From the political point of view, our country, as a permanently neutral state recognized by the United Nations, does not participate in international conflicts and does not intervene in them. From a legal point of view, Turkmenistan advocates for resolving all disputes between countries on the basis of the United Nations Charter and recognized norms of international law. From a worldwide perspective, Turkmenistan do not support the use of power in international relations. We are convinced that war is not a solution to problems in the modern world. This has been proved in practice many times. There is a beautiful Turkmenistan proverb that says, "Wars do not win."
One of the biggest problems in the region, which is water shortages, that coupled with rising economic demand as well for water. So what are your thoughts in terms of coordination between the international community and government?
We have repeatedly stated in our speeches that the consideration of the entire range of water-related issues in Central Asia should be based on three key principles. The first is compliance with international law. This means that water resources are the common heritage of all humanity, and their use should be regulated in accordance with universally recognized norms, particularly based on United Nations conventions. The second is mutual consideration of interests. This implies that water use should take into account the needs of the peoples of all states. Thirdly, the participation of international organizations, primarily the United Nations. We firmly believe that UN involvement in water initiatives strengthens their legitimacy and effectiveness. Based on this, and with the aim of establishing a mechanism for the use of transboundary rivers in the region, Turkmenistan proposes to establish a regional council on water use in Central Asian countries.
Well, Turkmenistan has very much positioned itself as neutral ground for political negotiations, and the same is true in regards to Afghanistan. So I was wondering whether you might be able to give us an update on bilateral relations with Afghanistan.
We want Afghans to live in peace and stability, to build their state, and to restore their economy and social sphere. We advocate for their integration into economic processes and projects both within our region and beyond. Based on this, Turkmenistan has initiated and is implementing a number of significant and promising economic projects involving Afghanistan. These include the Turkmenistan-Afghanistan-Pakistan-India gas pipeline, power transmission and communication lines through Afghan territory to Pakistan, and railways from Turkmenistan towards Afghanistan.
Well, going back to this renewed interest from the EU to Central Asia, what is your take on this type of coordination, and what does it mean exactly for Turkmenistan?
Our country attaches great importance to development of political relations within the European Union. We support expanding economic partnerships, cooperation in trade, transport, communications, culture, science, and education. We emphasize the significance of interparliamentary ties. In recent years, meetings of the Interparliamentary Dialogue and sessions of the Turkmenistan-European Union Joint Committee have been held regularly in Ashgabat and Brussels. There is also Turkmenistan-European Union Human Rights Dialogue is in place. We are ready to continue and expand this cooperation. There is undoubtedly enormous potential in the energy sector. Today, mutual interest in this area is significantly increasing. Since the European energy market is one of the largest in the world and currently requires large-scale and uninterrupted energy supplies to ensure stable growth of the European economy,
So would you be able to tell us a little bit more about your natural gas reserve expansion plans? And do you think this might be a key for European gas security? Is that the way forward?
Our country has the fourth largest natural gas reserves in the world. To give a concrete example, Galkanish Field in Turkmenistan ranks first in the world in terms of gas volumes. Its reserves amount to 27.4 trillion cubic meters of natural gas. I believe these figures clearly demonstrate that export potential of our country is able not only to meet its own energy needs, but also to satisfy the growing demands of its partners, both within our region and far beyond. This is confirmed by the major gas pipelines constructed and successfully operating in eastern, southern, and northern directions.
Turkmenistan is one of 5 Central Asian countries that is going to be attending this summit over in Uzbekistan in just a couple of months' time. So I was wondering whether you might be able to share with us your key message that you're going to take there to the summit. Is there anything that you could share with our audience?
This will be the first Central Asia-European Union summit, which in itself carries special expectations and meanings. Today, Central Asia is one of the most significant regions in the world, with interests rooted in the desire to live and develop in conditions of peace, security, and stability. The region also engaging with international partners on an equal and mutually beneficial basis. At the same time, our countries find the experience, achievements, and potential of the European Union in areas such as economy, environment, technology, and artificial intelligence to be valuable and relevant. I think there are good prospects for cooperation on the global foreign policy agenda, in ensuring regional security, strengthening borders, countering drug trafficking, and in a number of other areas, there are broad opportunities for collaboration.
Well, Your Excellency, thank you so much for taking the time and for being with us on Euronews. Thank you.
I would like to express my gratitude to you and the creative team of Euronews for today's interview.